Begin Self-Publishing episode number 84. YouTube Growth and Success with Steve Dotto.
Interested in self-publishing but don't know where to start? Want to get your book onto Amazon? Want to hold your paperback book in your hands? Learn how on the Begin Self-Publishing podcast with your host, Tim Lewis.
In this episode, I talked to YouTube expert and online business guru, Steve Dotto, about how to use YouTube to promote your book or business. He comes from a TV background, having been a host of a TV show in Canada for several years, and now he's become a world-renowned speaker on YouTube. If you get the chance, I suggest you watch some of his videos on his Dotto Tech site, where he does a whole series about how he got to 100,000 YouTube subscribers on one of his YouTube channels. Rather ironically, I've made a few changes to my podcast setup recently, and in the next week or so, the show should be available in a admittedly fairly static format on YouTube, as well as on all the other normal channels that it's been available. So now over to the interview. Hi Stephen, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Tim.
So, you're obviously a YouTube expert. How effective is YouTube to promote product or a business?
I'm kind of obviously biased because I've been, YouTube has been my chosen social network. And as well, it's not an outstanding social network, at least not yet. It is an outstanding discovery engine. So if a big part of your business is reaching to new communities with authority, I can't think of a better place to play than in YouTube. I mean, there's so many factors that fall into place with YouTube. We know it's the second largest search engine in the world, but we're also a video consumption society. Increasingly we live in a mobile world. And if you think about a blog post versus a video, it's hard to read on a smartphone. It's not a pleasant experience, is it?
No.
But the format for video is outstanding. It's already widescreen. They've got great quality, they get great quality resolution. We've got plenty of bandwidth almost everywhere in the Western world to be able to stream reasonable video. So we are increasingly becoming a video consumption society. So that's kind of step one is we're moving to video more aggressively, constantly. Secondly, YouTube has tremendous credibility because you go to YouTube to find something. It's not like a Facebook view of a video where it's an accidental view. It happens to interrupt your feed as you're doing something. You probably should be working instead of playing in Facebook. So there's all of that, but it's interrupted. It's usually silent. Whereas a YouTube view, think about how you use YouTube. You go to YouTube to find something. So it's an intentional view. That term intentional, I think, is a profound difference in how your relationship starts with somebody that discovers you for the first time on YouTube and starts to watch your video. They've chosen to watch you. So it's not that you haven't interrupted them, you haven't clickbaited them, you haven't done any of those things. They've come to watch with the expectation that they're going to get what they're looking for, that you're going to deliver the goods. So there's a whole kind of more serious relationship. It's like the difference between an affair and a marriage, right? There's intent behind it. So video has that. And the third factor is YouTube doesn't play the SEO games in the YouTube space that happens in Google. YouTube has very simple goals in mind. They want people to come to YouTube, find what they're looking for, and stay there for a long time. So if you deliver a clear description and a clear title of what's in your video, and it doesn't matter whether it's niche or broad, if you deliver what you say and they deliver a view to you, and that person stays, watches, engages, and then remains in the YouTube channel to watch more videos, either yours or somebody else's, so you begin a session where people are on for a length of time, YouTube loves you, and they are going to reward you with ranking, both in search and in suggested videos, which in my mind is just gold. I mean, think about how hard you have to work to get noticed in Twitter, to get noticed. Even in Facebook, you have to pay money typically to be noticed, and how hard you have to work in Google search. Whereas with YouTube, if you deliver the goods after a reasonable period of kind of proving yourself, they will return the respect and deliver the eyeballs. And at that point that's nothing but opportunity as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, so there's probably some listeners who are people who maybe got books or other products they want to sell. They've tried creating YouTube videos. You famously created a channel where your aim was to get to 100,000 YouTube subscribers, which you obviously did. What were the lessons you learned in terms of building up a YouTube channel?
Well, first of all, you can use video effectively without building the YouTube channel. If you have if you're effectively driving traffic to your own website or to your Facebook page or some other location, you can cross-post video. You can use YouTube for hosting the video and that sort of thing. So building a YouTube channel is not necessarily going to be in everybody's best interest if your audience isn't going to be coming to that space. So that's number one. But if you are interested in building a YouTube channel, if you think that it's a place that you want to create the credibility, if you want the social proof of having a large number of subscribers and good engagement, I mean, the lessons is obviously doing, a good job with your content. Obviously, you have to deliver the goods. But increasingly important is consistency of publishing, making sure that you follow an editorial schedule that your people can start to rely on you and that you're constantly out there in front of them. So you're releasing new content. Because we are a bit of an ADHD society. If you're not in front of me right now with something bright and shiny, I'm going to forget about you really quickly. So consistency in publishing becomes also very, very important. Engaging with your audience, making sure that for me, I think the biggest factor for success was, even though it's not an ideal social network, I treated YouTube as a social network. And from the first days of my channel, I responded to every post that people put in my YouTube comments. And I at least gave them a minimum of thumbs up, but I read every single one. And for me, that was like a deep dive into audience research, getting feedback from the people who watched my video to tell me exactly what they wanted to watch more of. And that was an epiphany for me. I come from a traditional television broadcast background. In Canada, we had a syndicated TV show that ran for a couple of decades. And I would have conversations with sponsors. I would have conversations with the ad executives at ad agencies or with the network executives. I never got to talk to the people that actually watched my damn show. But now, they tell me exactly what they want to see. And so as far as clarity of what content resonates, I have total clarity because my audience tells me. I get immediate feedback. As soon as I post a video, there's comments coming and telling me if they like it, if they don't like it, what they like about it, what they don't like about it. They share it or they criticize, but I know where I stand. So I look at a YouTube channel and publishing a YouTube channel. If you really want to grow it, I think you have to position yourself as a bit of a community leader where you sit there and you say, okay, I'm going to speak about this topic. I'm going to publish on this schedule, and I'm going to respect my audience by taking their feedback and incorporating it constantly. I think if you do those things, that's a pretty good recipe for success.
Okay, so it's consistency and then feedback are the main things that you're basically...
And having good video is important too.
Yeah. So let's say somebody listening to this thinks, oh, great, well, I've got to start doing more video. How can they... I mean, obviously, a lot of us who aren't from a TV background have issues with appearing in front of a video. How can people start to get over that? And what are your tips in terms of looking good on video, or at least looking competent on video?
I think that increasingly, that is becoming less of an issue because of the prevalence of live streaming and how often people are, even just, with your iPhone, how easy it is to access video. Back in the day when you needed, in order to do some sort of broadcast, you needed proper video setup, you needed a video editor, you had to do lighting and all of that sort of stuff to make it look professional, but also just you needed that much gear to do the physical recording. Today, you can sit in front of your computer with a good piece of screencasting software. I teach how to screencast. That's one of kind of my flagship courses. And the style of video I do is screencasting. And I'm not a big fan of the term screencasting, but it's essentially just using your computer as a complete production studio. You use the webcam or the built-in camera from the computer to capture your video. You use whatever audio device you have plugged into your computer. It captures it all, and it pulls the screen in at the same time as it's capturing your voice and audio, and then brings you in an editing environment that allows you to quickly compose the video. Having access to this is really analogous to what happened with desktop publishing back in the 80s. Back in the 80s, when we started doing desktop publishing and people would publish their newsletters, they looked like crap compared to the typeset newsletters that companies used to set out just merely months before. But it was accessible. and it was far less expensive, and it was a fast turnaround time, and it was cost effective, and people embraced it and they used it, and our expectations for what an acceptable quality of newsletter as far as the print and layout and stuff diminished slightly. Now, that might sound like a negative, but the bottom line is it democratized the whole process and it brought it to the masses. That's what's happening with video. We don't need to have high production standards. You need high quality content. You need engaging conversation happening. It doesn't have to be perfect. There can be little mistakes. As a matter of fact, if you've watched my channel, which I know you've watched a little bit, you see that I make little mistakes all the time, and I roll with it. I mean, I had my cat and my dog get into a scrap and knock over my green screen in the middle of a demo, and I just left it in because people want access to you. They don't want access to the polished piece around you. If you're going to build a community, they want to get to know the real you. This is why things like Facebook Live and all these things are so engaging, because it's raw and it's real. Now, I'm not saying it has to be poorly done, but I'm saying that authenticity is more important than polish today. So if you can get your headspace around that, and if you can be authentic, if you can be you, if you can find the engaging, slightly amplified you that you can put onto video, that's the voice that you have to have. And it requires doing it a few times and throwing yourself out there and then not being mocked and having people come back and enjoying your content before you really get comfortable with it. But it's far less dramatic thing than it used to be. And, if your hair's not perfect and your makeup's not perfect, and if you stumble the odd time, and even if your lighting is not great, the audience is going to be okay with that if you're authentic and if you're giving them great content. At the end of the day, content's still king.
So, in terms of YouTube and the features it provides, I mean, there are quite a few sort of bells and whistles and things like YouTube cards and annotations and closed captioning. How much attention should people pay to them in terms of learning the features of YouTube itself?
I'm of the opinion that if you were using a tool, I don't care which tool it is, you should know how to use it intimately. Nothing drives me more crazy than, having, people using 10% of their software and having all these features and functionality that they just don't know are there. And YouTube doesn't take too much time to figure out what's there. If you think about the process of delivering a video, I deliver a video to you, and it's a one-way conversation. Most of the tools that YouTube gives us are to either enhance that conversation or to create the opportunity for dialogue to happen. So when you mentioned YouTube cards create an opportunity for interactivity, the opportunity for me to ask you to do something and allow you to participate. Be it sign up for my newsletter, go to a sales page, like my video, something like that. That's what YouTube cards gives us, is the ability to create an activity and an interaction. And that is an important step. Turning people from, if almost everybody listening to your podcast is probably interested in creating some sort of product that they ultimately want to sell. And if we follow what the sales gurus tell us, is we need a certain number of touches in order for somebody to decide that they like us and trust us and are interested in what we have to say. Whether it's 7 or 9, depending on the industry, but you have to have multiple engagements for people to discover if they're comfortable with you. Every time that we can add one of those engagements, we're moving people farther along that sales process, if that's our ultimate goal, or if it's to sign them up for our newsletter, whatever our ultimate goal is. So the tools that we're talking about, the YouTube cards, using annotations, using closed captioning to be able to still deliver the content even when the audio isn't engaged in the video. Those are all engagement tools that just add to the experience and add to the value of the opportunity. So if you learn to use those tools, and if you engage with those tools, you're just going to benefit more. We work awfully hard for a view. We work awfully hard to get somebody to watch one of our videos. Any engagement opportunity on the table, I think that's just a lost opportunity. So yeah, I think you have to learn every aspect of the tool in order to really leverage it.
So if we get off YouTube as a platform, because obviously YouTube is your main specialization, but where else would you consider the best opportunities are for video or outside of YouTube?
Well, I think obviously we look at where the investment is being made by each one of the major social media players and how they consider video to be central to the growth of their communities or their offerings. So Facebook video, obviously. But you have to look at video and the style of video you create and recognize the platform you're delivering it in. So I break it down into intentional and accidental views, or intentional and feed-based views. YouTube is the only place people go and search for video. So there's an extra value, and I kind of started out by talking about that. The other networks, the other opportunities, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to a lesser extent, something like Snapchat or Facebook Live, or some of those other, the live streams. Those opportunities, for the most part, are accidental. So they appear in feed. So you can't have this, so you're not going to be delivering the same depth of content. So the type of content that you're going to deliver, for example, if you think about your own experience in Facebook, if you have people that write cookbooks, the successful videos on Facebook aren't 12-minute recipes on how to do coq vin. They're 1-minute videos from BuzzFeed that show you a really, really quick and simple and appetizing recipe. Because people are going to watch a small percentage of it, and it has to be kind of clickbaity in its own way to draw you in, because the sex and the sex appeal has to be there right at the start. Because you're not going to be patient to watch it. You're not going to look to learn how to cook coq au vin in Facebook, right? You stumble across something, and somebody's doing a hamburger stuffed with bacon and cheese and jalapeno peppers, and oh my God, it looks good, because you see that sizzling patty there for a few moments, and then they show you how they put it together in 35 seconds, and that is the engagement. So understanding the platform is absolutely essential. And whenever you're doing feed-based stuff, it has to be low-hanging fruit. It has to be your really broad stroke appeal videos. Whereas you can get much more specific on YouTube. If you're creating YouTube videos for a very, very narrow marketplace, but those people to you are of incredibly high value, you can survive with a tiny number of views if it brings the right people to the table. So understanding the network, understanding how people are consuming the video is essential when you start creating video for any of these other platforms. We're in the middle of right now launching an entire new YouTube or Facebook video campaign where we're doing 1-minute tech tips, which are really inspired by the BuzzFeed type food, the tasty little 1-minute or 30-second to 1-minute video clips. We're going square format because it resolves better on the smartphone. We're doing all based on text, even though there's a talking head. It's all with bubble text popping up, which makes it very easy for them to read. They don't have to look for small captions, but instead it's, the graphics on screen with the embedded text, because over 80% of all videos are viewed silent. And they're just a single point. This is how you do this. That's it. See you next time. And so, but that is the nature of Facebook and Instagram and Twitter as well, compared to what we see on YouTube. I don't know if that made sense, but that's the key, is understanding the difference between the networks.
Okay, so are you looking, therefore, with this new short tips video to try and then move people across to YouTube eventually, or is it more general kind of awareness thing you're going for?
Not to YouTube. All of these networks, getting views on Facebook, getting followers on Facebook, getting subscribers on YouTube, are vanity stats to a large extent. My goal is always getting people into my own mail list. At the end of the day, when I wake up in the morning, I go, how am I going to convert people onto my mail list? Because once they're on my mail list, they're worth X number of dollars to me per year. Because I can track my revenue exactly against the number of subscribers that I have on my mail list. So that's my goal, because the percentage of those people are going to buy my courses, are going to support me in a variety of different ways. So that is my goal. How do I get people interested and compelled? The right people. How do I reach enough people that are interested in my productivity, in my desktop video, in my webinar courses? How do I reach those people? And how do I get them to trust me enough to give me their email address so that they know that I can sell to them at some point in the future? That's the goal. So all of these videos for social networking, the exact same thing, to introduce people, to get them to know me, to determine whether or not they like my voice, they like my style, they trust me, they appreciate the quality of my content, and then there's always got to be a call. Come on, join the community, sign up for my newsletter.
Okay. Where can people find out about you and the things you do on your YouTube channel and various other places?
Just dottotech.com, dottotech.com. You'll see our newest videos. we've this year in 2017, we've embarked on a very aggressive publishing schedule. We're publishing multiple times, so actually 4 times a week, we're publishing new videos in different formats. Plus every Wednesday, we're doing a live training webinar. So we've got lots of content coming down the pipe, and you can find it all at dottotech.com.
Yeah, and I've been watching some of your oldish videos about how to get to 100,000 subscribers on your Dotto, and I watched that on the Dotto Tech site.
Yeah, that was an interesting journey. That was, I did a vlog where I just basically discussed the learning process, because I've only started in social media about 4 years ago.
Yeah,
and in YouTube, I came from a traditional broadcast television background. So that vlog actually, growing your YouTube channel to 100,000 subscribers, it was done in fits and starts. There's about 50 or so episodes of it, but it just narrates the journey and the decision points that I had. When I decided to, move from, a simple MailChimp type CRM to Infusionsoft, and what a huge decision that was, and how much angst I went through in that point there. How I decided to come up with formats, when I started to hire people, what my first hires were, what that process was like as I learned to hire people, and as I brought people on in a virtual team. So really, it just kind of documented that entire process.
Yeah, so that is really the place to go to find you.
It was fun, yes. Now we're over 100,000. I don't want to do growing a YouTube channel to 1 million, because I'm not sure I'm going to hit 1 million. So I don't know what the next one's going to look like.
It was great to have you on the show today, Steve.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed today's show, please stop by iTunes and rate and leave a review. This helps make the show more visible. For free resources, show notes, and other helpful content, join the community at beginselfpublishing.com.